Hello, and welcome to an episode of Todd Talks when Todd Talks. People, listen! Okay, and today we are here to talk about the season finale for the 8th season of the 10th anniversary of Death Battle in a matchup that is something. It's something. It's very much something. It is Saitama the One Punch Man versus Popeye the Sailor Man. I still can't believe we're doing this. But hey, we're doing it. So let's try to discern this madness. And for the record, I am guaranteeing you this will not take 30 minutes. I would be shocked if I take 20 minutes, and I'm going to only explain one of them really, really well, just because I can. So let's get started off with Saitama the One Punch Man. Or Caped Baldy, apparently. I haven't watched the show. I honestly was supposed to by now, but then things just got busy and I haven't gotten around to it. But I have heard all the stories and I've seen the memes and everything, and after diving into the wiki, it's very interesting. So, in the world that the One Punch Man lives in, he was original. Okay, let me revise. It's a world of heroes, monsters, villains, and so on and so forth. And Saitama at one point was just a salary man, which, if you don't know that term, it's just a regular working man, a man who just has a regular job for salary and whatever. And apparently he wasn't even good at that. But then after, as seen in the preview, saving a butt-cheeked boy from a lobster monster in underwear anime, he decides that he wants to become a hero. And this is where things get weird, because he goes on a training regimen. Totally fine. He's dedicated to that regimen. Totally fine. And then through that training regimen, he becomes so absurdly powerful. He is literally the most powerful being in his universe by a scale that we still do not know the limits of, if there are limits at all. What? Okay, now, as defined in the preview, and I want to elaborate on this first. Saitama is not, that we know of, the story is not over, but that we know of, is not being blessed with the ability to defeat all foes in one punch. That is not his skill. It is just that through his training regimen, he has gotten so absurdly fast, strong, and skilled in power and punching, among other things. He can kick people to death too. That all it usually takes is one punch, not even a serious punch. He has what he calls normal punches, and they can obliterate just about anybody in one punch. How he got this is the biggest mystery of One Punch Man, arguably. And I was gonna make a joke about Fubuki and dang it, Tatsumaki, but I'm not going to now. Insert own joke here. But the mystery is, how did this happen? There are theories about how Saitama became this powerful, but there's no real definitive reason. The creator, One, has not given a reason for this, and in the show slash comic manga series, the best theory is that Saitama, through his extreme training regimen of like 1,000 push-ups, 1,000 sit-ups, running 10K miles a day, back to back to back, while fighting monsters and so on and so forth, removed what is known as a limiter. This came from a Dr. Genus, I believe that the name was, and he theorized that in this world, God, like the actual God, put a limiter on people. Think of it like Goku. Okay, he always has a limit, and then he has to break through that limit to get stronger. Well, in this case, it's that limit is what will separate regular beings from basically ultimate power. And you can remove that limit if you do certain things. And the theory is that Saitama, through his rigorous training for that set period of time, I think they said it was a year, broke that limiter. And through that, he became the One Punch Man, where he can literally destroy everything in one punch. That's just a theory, but it honestly does make sense with what we know in this universe, okay? The problem, especially for Saitama, is that he wanted to be a hero that would have thrilling fights. But Now he can just defeat everybody in one punch. And so, as shown in the preview and as noted multiple times in the anime, he is bored as heck because it takes a lot for him to find an opponent that can honestly challenge him in any way, to challenge him to a fight that will last longer than a few seconds. And most times, they don't. All right? And because of this, Saitama has become, what do you want to call it, dulled in his senses, I suppose. Even by his own admission, he feels that because of his overwhelming strength, his emotional state has become numb to where he doesn't remember people's names or mispronounces them all the time. He'll go and do something and act like it's nothing, even though he just showed like a super incredible feat. Um, he doesn't understand certain things that people do, and but then on the flip side, he is a keen observer who will um, understand like people's fears and rationale and motives, but with just a glance, and he can not be defeated in battle, but he can be defeated in things like a noodle eating contest or rock, paper, scissors, because that's not tied to his strength, that's tied to a skill that he himself is not trained himself in. So he's really much a dichotomy of various things. He is a heroic character. He does do heroic things, and he's even said that in the beginning that he's a hero for fun, but then eventually takes more responsibility eventually and like joins the hero association that's there, even though he's somehow only ranked as a B rank hero, even though he's like the strongest person in the universe, but whatever. um so yeah, he's a very weird character, and like the joke is that we're especially with anime, the protagonist like Deku or a Goku or Yu Yu Hakusho, uh think of another one. This shouldn't be that hard. uh oh, Naruto, like they are like beings of like uber immense power, but One Punch Man is that level above, and it shows because in the series, as it is shown, he has never been damaged. Now, let me be clear on this. When I say damaged, I mean physically hurt. Not once. He has had his clothes destroyed multiple times, in fact. Multiple times, in fact. He was shown to get tired once, but then he recovered in a snap. He has never shown his full complete power, which you'd think, given some of the monsters that he fights, including the dragon level threats, which is apparently the highest level of threat in One Punch Man, or so I read, um, he could beat them with these. Even Boros, I wrote his name down just so I wouldn't forget it. Boros, who had an attack that could literally destroy the surface of the planet, he used a serious punch to stop and negate the attack to such a degree that it parted the clouds on a global level. And literally, you could see the clouds parting around the world in a cone arc and spanning out. That's insane. And he wasn't even using full power. Boros was like, you lied. You didn't use your full power. So we do not know One Punch Man's full power. And that's pretty scary if you really think about it. And of course, through that power, he has these other abilities. For example, while he cannot fly, he has the ability to leap with such power that it looks like he's flying at times. And it's even stated specifically that he can jump while already in the air. Okay. And of course, the moon feat, which Death Battle already showed in his preview, Boros knocked him into the moon. He landed flat. He's fine, totally fine. He was not hurt by the vacuum of space, and apparently was holding his breath in space, which okay. Um, and he launched himself off the moon, seriously hurting the moon in the process, and got back to the Earth in 16 seconds, which means he not only propelled himself off the moon, which he theoretically should not have been able to do, but he also survived re-entry, which should have burned him, but it didn't. Only his outfit was hurt. And then he was back in the battle in no time flat. And he landed with pinpoint precision on Boros' ship. See, that's something that is forgotten about Saitama, is that he honestly has a lot of skill with how he handles himself. It's just that he's not the most proficient in certain other things. For example, while he is the One Punch Man, he doesn't exactly have a complicated fighting style. He punches things or he kicks things. and everything. He again, he usually only needs one punch, so he has what's known as like a very basic style. He'll use his fists or his feet, and sometimes even his teeth, like a speed of sound Sonic or whatever. He tried to swing a sword at Saitama, and Saitama on a dime bit into the sword and shattered it. That's insane. But yeah, basically everything that One Punch Man does is insane. And again, we do not know his upper limit because the show and the manga have not revealed it to us. Now they're teasing it, like they're saying that Saitama might actually go up against God eventually, and this could change things potentially. But we don't know when that's going to be. And so while there is a legitimate gripe for having Saitama here now, not unlike with Ruby and how they're trying to wait for that series to end before bringing her in the death battle, you kind of get the gist of what he can do because he can pretty much beat anybody. And his speed is so fast. He's said to be close to light speed, if not over it. He can move so fast he can create after images. His durability, again, he has never been hurt, and even when he's been hit by bullets and blades and other and dipped in lava, he has never been damaged. You who can hurt the One Punch Man? There is one. And his name is Popeye the Sailor Man. Boop, boop. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, much like the Macho Man preview from, what was that, a month ago? I will do this entire section as Popeye the Sailor Man. Well, blow me down. Okay, no, I'm not. I really can't. I was feeling my voice going before I even got here because I was practicing my Popeye voice. So yeah, I will not be doing that. But let's talk about Popeye because Popeye is one of the greatest animated and comic strip characters of all time. He was born almost a century ago, and he was yeah, we're pretty close to a century, I believe. And he was born via Thimble Theater, which was a comic strip that was in the papers at the time. But here's the twist. He was not the main character. He was actually supposed to be a supporting character, but then he got so popular that he became an icon over time. He was created by E.C. Seeger. I'm right, I wrote that down. E.C. Seeger, who was inspired by a local man he knew named Frank Rocky Fiegel. He was not a sailor, but he was a man who had one eye, had a corn pop pipe, and he would get into fights all the time. There was even a rumor that he was an undefeated fighter. He wasn't, but still. Like the kids in the local town, they would see him outside of a bar, slumped against a chair taking a nap, and they would scare him and run away. And when he would wake up, he'd be like, "Oh, you know, he was be ready for a fight." And so that was the basis of Popeye. Now, again, originally he was supposed to be a supporting character, and he eventually got to be his own comic strip, which became immensely popular. And then throughout the decades, he had animated series and movies, including one starring the late Robin Williams, rest in peace, good sir. And he continues to endure to this day, even though technically he's not as around as, say, like a Mickey or Bugs Bunny. He's still there, and he's still one of the most recognized characters of all time. Now, in terms of his actual lore, there is actually a lot of it. Popeye was born to Poop Head Pete. These names. And he was abandoned because his child was ugly. Or sorry, his father abandoned him because apparently as a child, Popeye was ugly. So he went to an orphanage and had a very rundown life until he met Whaler Joe, who took him in, raised him, and through his childhood, he got to see that he was a guy with a heart of gold and fists made of steel. All right, even as a child, well before the spinach thing, he was beating up kids with ways that just are insane. He was so powerful that he would scare the other kids into doing good because they didn't want to mess with Popeye. Now, how did he become a sailor? Um, he was kidnapped. Yes, he was kidnapped, put on a ship, and eventually decided that, hey, the sailor's life is for me. Yeah, he became a sailor that way, and then over the years, he was like 12, 13, I think, when he was kidnapped. And through that, he decided, yeah, I'm going to be a sailor man. So fast forward a few decades, and then he became the Popeye, the Sailor Man. He would go from place to place and offer his seafaring skills, and then later on, he would go on grand adventures to have fun and seek treasure and be with his dearest olive oil. Oh, Popeye! Yes, and for the record, I am trying to be a voice actor, and I have even submitted a voice reel to Cadence, who works for Death Battle, to voice a character. So maybe one day I'll be in Death Battle, but for now, I will just continue entertaining you, my dear fans. Anyway, so the other question you might have is, how did Popeye lose his eye? Yes, I will get to Popeye's feats, but this is more fun. Uh, Popeye um, had a bout with a cook who was a beast man, and Popeye is 100% loyal to his word. And he said to the beast man, "I'm gonna punch you so bad you're gonna lie in them sweet pea fields, like a flower bed." But he couldn't find a flower bed, and so he's looking around for the flower bed, and the beast man actually cheap shots him and takes him and fights him so badly that he loses his eye. So that's why he looks like this. So yeah, there you go. Anyway, but as the cartoons in the animated series or the strips kept going on, the story was always about how Popeye would use his incredible strength or skill or determination and just do whatever the freaking heck he wants. And I could list all the crazy things he's done, but that would take longer than 30 minutes, and we are already at 16:50. This is where the timer is for me. Um, yeah, so let's just speed run some of the best ones. You saw in the preview that he gave the sun a black eye. That's impressive. You want to know what's more impressive? He shot it with an arrow. He grabbed a tree, wrapped a rope around it, made a huge bolt out of another tree, fired at the sun, cracked the sun. He cracked the sun. Here's another one. Want to talk about speed feats? I can't guarantee that he's light speed. I can't. But apparently his pappy was fast enough to dodge lightning, and Popeye could catch up to him. So that's pretty fast. And in another one, he actually built a fleet of battleships with such speed that he was launching them by hand near Bluto, his eternal frenemy. And Bluto went from doing over a small period of time to going. So Popeye was building them before Popeye or Bluto could like fully turn his head. And this is a massive battleship. It was like World War II era. Sorry, no, those things are large. So he's constructing entire battleships out of rubble in that amount of time. So that's not just a speed feat, that's a skill feat. Let's see, other strength feats. As you've seen, he has the power of Toon Force. And I'm not even getting to the spinach yet. He once Olive Oil was being chased by a bull, okay? Obviously they were in Spain. No, they were in Spain. So Olive Oil is being chased by a bull, which actually shows how fast she is. Anyway, and Popeye lures the bull to him, and with like a white rag. Red does not work on bulls, just letting you know. And he just puffs out his chest, and the bull bounces off of him. In another episode, he's being fired on by Martian ships who apparently fire bullets, and the bullets are just bouncing off of him. He has had a cannonball bounce off of him. He was constricted by a snake to the extent that you could see like the outlines of the sections where he was squeezed, and he just shrugged it off because he doesn't care, because he's Popeye the Sailor Man. In a feat that I still can't believe, and I saw the clip. Oh, actually, I want to save that. I want to talk about another one. He faced a guy with a magic lamp. It wasn't Bluto. But he did fight Bluto with against. He fought Bluto who had magic once, but that's another story. He fought a guy who had a magic lamp, and Popeye was going up a winding staircase to try to get to him. The guy kept rubbing the lamp and summoning various creatures to go and fight Popeye. Okay, the first were a duo of like ancient soldiers. Punched them. they fell down and turned into furnaces. How? I don't know. Then the wizard summoned the guy summoned a giant bird. Popeye punches it, hits the floor, feathers all pop up, and now it's certainly a perfectly shaped chicken, turkey, turkey body. The kind you get for Thanksgiving, that kind of thing. All right, and it's turning on a spit above the furnaces that he just created from the other soldiers. Impressive. Then the guy rubs the lamp again. Oh, what's he gonna summon now? He summons a freaking dragon. And what does Popeye do? He pulls up the floor as the dragon is breathing fire on him. It's made of asbestos, apparently. It was labeled. And then he eats some spinach. I should mention he's eating spinach every time, but that's honestly not important here. He eats the spinach, and then just through his corn pop pipe, is it corn pop pipe, whatever. Through his pipe, he breathes fire and literally incinerates the dragon to nothing with his pipe. Because Toon Force. But the best one for me, is that in one episode, and I saw the clip myself, this scientist dude has a disintegrator, right? It specifically says electrical disintegration. And then he fires it on Popeye, who thinks, oh, I can't get hurt by this. And his hand dissolves. And he's like, wow. And then the beam goes to the bottom, and then it literally disintegrates him so that nothing is left but his spinach. So Popeye's dead, right? Because somehow, some way, the spinach gets back to where his disintegrated body was, and something picks up the spinach, and Popeye's head appears after the spinach is eaten. How did he eat the spinach? I don't know. Okay? I don't know. And yeah, so he survived disintegration like it was nothing, all because he had the spinach. The spinach gives him the extra strength. Now, to be clear here, he has the strength without the spinach. He has a large amount of strength without spinach. Much of the clips you likely saw in today's preview was without spinach, like how he can blow a sail without spinach. Makes sense. And he can travel like around the world with that. So imagine the lung capacity to do that, blow your own sail. He can punch things into one another. He could punch things so hard he transfigures them. He once turned Bluto into a little sack of bologna. What? All right. So, but then with the spinach came in. Spinach wasn't even his original thing. He actually had a hen, I think it was, that he would rub the head up, and then he would get the power. But then it became spinach, and that's why Popeye is the icon of spinach, because he gotta eat all me spinach. I know, and all of that. So, yeah, the spinach is like his, what do you want to call it? His Super Saiyan mode, his Kaioken, his Speed Force. What do you want to do? And let me be clear here. Yes, Saitama is going to let him eat the spinach. That's his problem. 2, even if Popeye needs more spinach, he can get it from freaking anywhere. All right? He can summon it with a whistle. He can pull it out of anywhere, even if you don't see it on his body. He can ask the audience. Yes, he can ask us, the audience, for spinach, and we'll give it to him because he's Popeye. We're not going to turn down Popeye. And as if all of that was not enough, dear ladies and gentlemen, I have one more spinach feat for you. In one episode, Popeye, I guess on the moon or something, and yes, he was knocked to the moon. It's a thing. He started to pray. He prayed and he begged for help. And who did he pray to? No, not God. Not any of the pantheon of gods that we know. He prayed to Spinichia. Spinach IA. All right. And she, who of course looks like Popeye, blessed him with spinach so that he could get off the moon. He prays to a goddess and she listens. Okay. She comes at his call. I know that won't be in the death battle, but oh, how I wish it could be. All right. So, yeah. if he needs that extra boost of strength or speed or durability, the spinach will give it to him. And yes, the cartoons usually frame it that he needs the spinach, but he honestly doesn't, especially if you look at the early strips or whatever. It was honestly after he became a true icon of spinach that they made it so that every situation resolves itself with him beating somebody to bloody heck, including almost killing Bluto once with a dynamite cigar. Love it. Because of the spinach. But the spinach is the addition, not the sole thing. He can do incredible things without the spinach, but it's with the spinach that he goes full force. So yeah. And you thought anime was weird. And trust me, there was more that I could have talked about, like how he turned a bull into a meat market, or how he turned himself into lightning and contained a mountain getting exploded, or how he punched Bluto around the earth. We saw that in the preview. He this one time he was falling down towards a mountain peak, which obviously would have impaled him, and so he used some spinach and he inflated his arms and stopped his momentum, and then used his pipe to spin and send him back up. How? I don't know. Toon Force. It's weirder than anime. All right, we're at 26 minutes. I need to get going. So who wins between Saitama and Popeye? It's Popeye. Oh, you thought Storm versus Goro was a stomp. Okay, here's the thing. Let's get real here. Actually, I'm going to keep that curly cue. Anyway, here's the thing. Saitama is the One Punch Man, but that's just within the realms of his universe. Okay, and Wiz was even clear on saying that he is not a being blessed with a powerful one punch that can kill anything. That's not how it works. Whether you accept the theory or not, his limiter has been removed so that his body has such power, strength, durability, and dexterity that he can basically one punch almost anything into oblivion, even planet busters. But Popeye is a Toon Force character that you could argue can't die. And I already told you about the disintegrator feat. In a comic strip, he messed with the literal creator of the universe, and I was told this was an official thing. He messed with the creator of the universe, and the creator, was so angry with Popeye that he decided to literally flip a switch and turn off reality. Now, in the shot, we see Popeye and Olive Oil, and I think Wimpy, and the creator has the light switch, and he just goes. And he goes, I did it. I beat him. You can't get me. And Popeye's there. Olive Oil and Wimpy are gone, but Popeye is there. And he goes, how? How can you possibly be here? I eat me spinach. Popeye has apparently rearranged constellations. I have not seen this, but multiple people have noted it. So the real question isn't, how will Saitama be able to one punch him to death? It's whether Popeye can die. Think about the mask. Think about Pinkie Pie. They were blessed with Toon Force, and they can literally say no to death. Pinkie Pie reassembled herself from being shattered into pieces. The mask can say no to damage, and Popeye can say no to being turned off in reality or being disintegrated and just eat spinach so that he can come back to life. One punch ain't gonna stop the Toon Force, all right? It's broken. So yeah, this might be one of the most ridiculous matchups in Death Battle history, even though, yes, they do have a lot of similarities. Bald fighters, never taken seriously, and willing to beat the crap out of people when they get serious. But this is also potentially one of the biggest stomps because you're taking anime superpowers versus the Toon Force. And while you might think that they're evenly balanced, they're not. So I am picking Saitama. Sorry, no, I'm not picking Saitama. Saitama is going to lose. I'm picking Popeye the Sailor Man. That would have been a disaster. I'm picking Popeye the Sailor Man to win because I am what I am, and that's all that I am. So, with that, and with 45 seconds to go, I am ending this episode of Todd Talk. Who do you think is going to win between Saitama and Popeye? Again, I'm picking Popeye. Let me know in the comments below, and this is going to be an interesting reaction, I guarantee you. So, I thank you for watching. If you made it this far, I know you were listening, and I'll see you around.